Greetings everyone, TJB Chris here, welcoming you to part 2 of my series on the Model 16B restoration. Tonight won't actually involve the Model 16B, which is sitting here waiting caps. Instead, what it's going to involve is using the keyboard I got with it on the Model 12 to see if it works. Because while I'm waiting for reefa caps to come in the mail, I can use the opportunity to rehabilitate the keyboard if necessary. So what we're going to do is power up the Model 12, see if at least the caps lock light lights up, because that does by default. At least give us an idea that the keyboard controller is functioning. And then once we get to the date prompt, we're just going to start typing stuff in, see how far we get. Hopefully we get some keys working, but I imagine we won't. So let's see how it goes. Okay, I've got Tristas 20B mounted in the floppy emulator here just off to the side, and we're going to power up the 12. Okay, here we are, Tristas boot prompt. Just a little screen adjustment here. Okay. And so, well, we'll start with the numbers. Well, 1. We do have caps lock, though. So that's good. Anything here? Yeah, so nothing really seems to work here. That's not unexpected for a keyboard of this vintage. The reason that this tends to happen, these Keytronic keyboards, this is a Keytronic made keyboard, and it is basically made up of each key has under it a little disc such as this, which has a capacitive side. This is foil looking capacitive, and then on the back side is adhesive, and it's like a little Oreo for your keyboard. And that needs replacement. Each one of the keys has one. I believe there are 82 keys on this keyboard, so we're going to have to replace those. And this is a Texelec capacitive pad kit. So what we have to do is take the keyboard all apart, and we'll use this opportunity to clean the keys, and we'll clean up the board itself, and we'll scrape out all of the old foam and everything that's in there and make this into something useful again. But I'm convinced there's probably going to be life in this keyboard because the caps lock key here is lit. What I can do is when I get the keyboard apart, I can fire this back up, and I can use one of these pads to just hit some of the various landing pads on the PCB where the keys are supposed to strike, and hopefully get some response out of the machine. So it looks like, as expected, this keyboard is fully non-functional, but that's okay because we're going to make it functional. Here we are, all set to go. Got our capacitive pads right here, which are going to hang out next to the caps for now. Just off camera, the Model 12 keyboard is back where it belongs, at least for now, and this is going to come apart. And what we're going to try and do is just separate the keyboard assembly from the underlying PCB, see what it looks like under there, maybe give it a clean with some alcohol, and then we're going to see if we can get it back onto the Model 12 and see if we can at least get a response out of it. We'll just take 1 or 2 of these pads and just touch them to it while we're going. That'll be that. So that is it. That is the plan. Let's get cracking. Okay, screws are out, and as you can see, we've got a little bit of a mess. This looks pretty similar to what was inside the machine. It was just years of grime and wear and everything like that. So there's going to be some cleaning in our future, but we'll just disconnect this so we can separate the bottom. And yeah, there's going to be some work here. We're just going to want to clean this out, and honestly, it might just get a high power rinse to start, and we'll go from there, but that's for later. Okay, and then we'll remove the keyboard assembly from the top bezel. There we are. Also going to the cleaners. That's not too bad, but you can see we've got some, dirt in there and stuff. So the badge is just attached with these things. So I'll have to check and see if J. Neuwirth makes this size badge for the 16B. That would be kind of nice. It looks pretty comparable to the one on the other Model 12. So, okay. Alright, so now that we have this apart, I'm going to fold this up and get rid of it because it's just covered in crud. And we're going to clean this off, and then we're going to separate the inner bezel. Alright, I'll wipe down. The way the bezel separates, actually, it's not screwed on. It just has these little stands here. So I should be able to give it a little push and separate it away. We're successful, and there's the bezel. Now we have the keyboard, and now we're going to clean this. Alright, keyboard bezel is clean and drying. I figured you'd watch me wipe the front. You don't need to watch me wipe the back. And now we're looking at the keyboard itself, and there's some crud here, but this will clean up. You know, I'm not gonna do all this right here, but first thing I want to kind of do is get it separated. So we'll separate it out, because when I get the keys off, it'll be easier to clean, but it actually wipes up pretty easily. So what we're gonna do, there's a bunch of screws in the back here we're gonna take off, and that should help us get the keyboard apart. And there it is. This is what the PCB looks like. And I don't know how well you can see, but it needs some cleaning. This is probably not going to work even as is without some cleaning. So it's got, almost looks like somebody spilled something in it at one point in life. There's some corrosion and water damage. Hopefully that's not too major. You can see here it's a Keytronic keyboard. So what I think I'm going to do, this is going to be, see how this goes. I might see if I can handle this with a little alcohol or whatnot, but some of these traces are looking pretty rough, so we'll see what we can do with this. And actually you can see inside the keyboard here there's a fair amount of rust, which kind of corresponds with what we're seeing here. So this is fairly rusty. Hopefully I can clean this out. I might need another brush because I don't want to use my electronics brush. Some of these keys don't even have pads in them. This one doesn't. Oh, this one doesn't because it's the other side of the inner key. So yeah, they all have pads, but some are better than others, but they're all pretty degraded, and just like that. Look at that when the capacitive part just fell off. So, yep, this is as to be expected. So the cleaning process for these is we pop these out, clean off the metal frame here. I just lost 4 more of these. And then what we'll do is clean this up, wipe it down, get it dry, and with the key switches, we'll take these, pop them out, get them all cleaned out and scraped out, and then we'll put the new pads in. Meantime, we'll clean this and see if we can make it better. The first order of business is actually, oh look, another one, is going to be to see if I can get this cleaned up and make it look a little nicer, and see if I can get it to function on the Model 12. I think before putting any effort into this, I want to make sure that this is functional. So that is our next step. Alright, here we are. I'm going to try just a little bit of toothbrush and a light brush of just isopropyl. And we're going to see if I get any luck here. And I'm going to go lightly. I don't want to do any damage. I just want to see if this looks like it's going to clean up without taking these up. If I have to, I'll get something better to clean with. Not bad. Okay, and this board wasn't in great shape when I got it, so just remember that we're working with what we got here. I've cleaned the bottom tray a bit. Not perfection, it's not really completely done. I'll go over it a little better, but I'd say this is a marked improvement over before. A little hot water, some paper towels, and I could magic erase it, but I don't know they're going to go that far. But anyway, I need to use this as a tray to set this into, so we can test it out, just so it's kind of there and I have a cable in it. So what we're going to do is hook up the Model 12. We're going to turn it back on, get this hooked back up to it, and hopefully I'll use some of these pads to figure out how it's going to work. So let's get that rolling. Alright, we're going to power this up. Graduated from soda to wine. It's wine time. You see the caps lock light? Okay, so. Okay, got 1, 2, good. Yeah, this is good. So I'm getting keys 6, 5, even on the ones that look a little funky. So I might backspace, or might be the wrong key. There we go. So the keyboard board appears to work quite well. Obviously, I'm testing to kind of the worst looking ones, because if they work, I'm pretty sure we'll be in good shape. So what this tells me is that the keyboard controller and the interface, the board itself are all functional, and it's worth proceeding. If it wasn't, then we would find something else to do, but I don't want to refoam a bunch of keys and find out that the electronics are shit. So they are not. We are in good shape. Now that the PCB is out of the way, it's time to attack the main keyboard. And the way that I'm going to handle this, since the keys and everything are already dirty, is we're going to try and get the foam and the wrecked crap out of here as much as possible first. And then once I'm done with that, I can decide my next plan of attack for taking these keys apart. I think what we'll end up doing is probably popping each of these out, and then I'll pop the keys off and then pop each of these out. I'd like to treat some of this rust if I can. I don't know that I'm going to get all of it off, but I might try and take a little sandpaper to it and just kind of clean it up so it doesn't just have its corrosion spreading. So I shouldn't go too much further if there's not much more moisture, but you know, why have it in there when I can take it out and have it, you know, not contaminate the PCB if any of it were to flake off. So there we are. So that is all of the foam removed. I find that it sticks pretty well to the cotton swabs. So if I get some of it out, scrape it out, and then the rest of it sticks, and then just go over it again with a second set. So I think it's time to blow this out. And of course my can of air is way over there. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop these keys out from the bottom if I can. The reason I want to do this is because I can pop the keycaps off, but then I have a lot of little springs and things I have to kind of account for. The space bar is going to be its own little thing, but aside from the space bar, I want to be able to kind of keep all these intact. So what I'm going to do is take them out with the keycaps on. I'll clean them with the keycaps on. I'm not too terribly worried about what's underneath between the key and the top of the cap here. So I'm just gonna kind of do that. Now that the keys are out, I'm going to go over the plate here. You can see I'm not going to repaint this. I don't think you really don't see it through the keys, and it's a bridge too far to get one of these sides out, so I could get the space bar thing out so we can clean out. So I'm going to go over this side with an abrasive brush sponge, and I think on the other side I'm going to hit this with the abrasive sponge, but I don't expect it to do all that well. So what I'm going to try and do is I might just grab a little sandpaper and at least get the surface off. I'm not going for perfection here, I just really want it to be useful and just not flaking corrosion. So Alright, well, now that we're done with the backplate for the keyboard, it's time for the keys. So we're going to clean the keycaps off here, and I'm going to use, in generic terms, a household cleaning pad. In brand name parlance, that would be a magic eraser. Just as on any cooking TV show, an Oreo is a chocolate sandwich cookie, and M&Ms are candy-coated chocolates, and other weird-ass, genericized versions of you know what the hell they are. I wonder what they call Skittles. Anyway, so regardless, we're going to do this the way we did the Model 4, and I'm just going to try and see what I can get off of these. These keys are a little yellowed as well. I don't expect to get the yellow off. I'm just kind of hoping to get, there's some brownish crap on there off. And I really don't go with these too much, but I'm going to do these each one at a time. And then we're going to move on to the next. So, cue that time lapse. Alrighty, it's time to start inserting the keys back. So what I think we'll do is get the keys back into the frame here, and then I'll turn it upside down so I can make sure the insides dry out, so that way when we go to apply the foam, it will stick. All clean and reassembled. Here's the keyboard, and I got the space bar in. You didn't get to see that part. Apologize for that. And I put in a couple of these pads. Now, it turns out, and I did a pretty bad job on this one. Actually, I might have to fix it. When I did my 16A keyboard, I left the backings for the old discs in there. And the reason I did that is because the foam pads I had for that weren't these Texelec ones that I really liked. They were adhesive, and they worked, but I left these in because it was easier to stick the adhesive in, and I figured if I ever wanted to pop them out and replace them, I could just pop them like that. Of course, now this time, I thought I was going to end up doing the same thing, and so I cleaned all these out unnecessarily. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pop each of these as we go, and we'll pop the new pads in. I suck at putting these pads in. I'm going to see if I can get better at it as time goes on. They don't really stick, they're just got a hard backing, and you kind of press them into the slot here. So here's the finished product, all foamed and ready to go. I actually had to do one important thing. I did redo the brake key, because when I put this one on, I was really struggling to find my groove on this, and I creased it, and I wasn't sure it was going to work, so I just popped it out, threw a new pad in. The only other thing I would note, I took all the keys apart and cleaned them individually, as units, so getting the orientation of the keys back in here was automatic because they didn't take the keys apart. But for the spacebar, you have to make sure that you get these screw holes in the top left corners here. If you don't, when you put the circuit board on, it's not going to align. So just a point I thought to check before I put it back together, otherwise the screw holes wouldn't line up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a couple of screws in this, 2 or 3, and we're going to just plug it into the Model 12 and see if it works. Alright, this is together enough to try it out. We're going to point the camera at the Model 12 here, plug it in, and fire it up. Alright, you can see one of my laptops sitting on top of the Model 12. I've been listening to the TRS-80 Trash Talk podcast while I'm doing this, so obviously I don't want to talk over them and be able to listen to it, so I've paused it for now, but that's why the machine's sitting up here. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, we have the keys working, 2021 and 1905. Okay, let's go to basic, and we'll test these keys out. Okay, brake works, that's good. Repeat works, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, so these keys all seem to check out. The keyboard is now functional, so what we're going to do is put it the rest of the way back together, get the shell all together, and we are done with the keyboard. And there we have it. Restored Model 12 keyboard for the 16B. All set and ready to go. So I'm going to plug this in one more time and just kind of hit some of the keys on it. We won't go through all of them again, and we'll see what happens. And up comes the 12. Excellent. Okay. So again, types nicely. Perfect. Perfect. I'm happy with this. Came out very well. Like I say, I may try to retro bright the bezel when the weather's nicer and it's not December, but even then that's optional. One nice thing about having this keyboard done is even if I have other problems with the 16B itself, having this keyboard means I now have spare for this machine, so it's always good to have another one of these keyboards floating around. This just puts me in a much better position. So very happy to have this done. It's kind of why I did the keyboard early, because it's something that will be useful to me even if I have a longer road ahead with the machine. So that's it for the keyboard portion of our show. Join us next time for power supply and circuit board cleaning up. I've got my anti-static ESD safe brushes here, and we're going to do some brushing off of the boards, and we're going to replace the reefer caps in the power supply. And then I think if everything looks good, it might be time to do a basic system test with the video card and the Z80 processor. So join me next time, and thanks as always for watching.